Welcome, everyone, to the SnapCast podcast. We're two friends who love Magic the Gathering, talk about it. And those two friends are Mike Cooley and Andy Mishu. What happened to the other guys that you used to? Well, we had to come out of retirement for the 100th episode. These guys have been running this podcast into the ground.
That fucking shit, man.
It's time to save this shit, all right? Hold on, they had a script. There's some other shit we gotta say, apparently for branding reasons. This is competitive, casual, and financial. Those fucking French words, man. But it's all Magic the Gathering shit. That's what we talk about here. That's what we talk about. And we're here to do this right for the 100th episode because, hey, let's face it, you missed this guy. You missed this guy, and nobody does a better intro than me, not even Brad.
It's one of those things, right, where it's unfortunate because, you know, obviously you and Brad started and everyone was like, man, when are they going to replace Brad? This will be awesome once they do. And then they replaced you.
Yeah.
And then I came in and they're like, well, it's still somebody, I guess. Like, we still have to deal with Brad.
Yep.
And then they replaced me. And it was just like, it's been downhill ever since. So.
Man, yeah. It's, but you know, I still tune in from time to time just so that I can mentally disagree with these guys. So I'm so happy that today we're going to be talking about the real shit.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the amount
of
of times that I have to message these guys on Facebook after their episode comes out to talk about rulings they got wrong.
Yeah.
That's like totally not even relevant for the show at all.
I don't even think these guys showed up.
Definitely happened twice.
Yeah, it happened at least once, maybe twice.
And to be fair, you both retired. Nobody got fired.
I mean, when we were doing it, I think we were doing it once a month because that's just how often I showed up.
How often the stars aligned.
The Chinese food kind of ruined us a couple times too.
No. Well, the only way that the show definitely, the show definitely didn't happen if we went for Chinese.
No.
Well, no, welcome everybody. We're happy to be back. This is the 100th episode of the SnapCast podcast, and holy shit, man, it has been quite a ride. Andy and I are happy to be back here chilling with the fellas that are carrying it now, and you guys are doing a great job. I mean that. I do tune in. I did at least mean that part. And, you know, it's great. We've been listening to a bunch of the opinions and the 5-0s of Zach Muller over here, just tearing it up with his fishy fish deck.
Would you have a 4-1 this week?
Yeah, I also had a 4-0 for a prelim, which is slightly more competitive than a regular league. But Monday night, I was going to stream it, or I was going to record it, and I didn't. But I might do a recap on that at another point, but yeah.
Yeah, you guys are good and all, but I'm like undefeated in the last 1.5 years, I think. Undefeated.
No one beat him at anything.
Hold on.
What are you laughing at, Brad?
When did you retire from Magic? Was that a year and a half ago?
It's not important, okay?
Okay.
It's some people play to win, some people don't play to not lose. Okay?
I mean?
There's a big difference.
Yeah,
all right?
that's
Rick
true.
Go out on top.
I mean, you haven't given Andy a shot to get his Crokinole title back.
No, he does not have the title.
Oh, he just has
the trophy.
That's right.
Okay.
I got this trophy now. Crokinole champion right here.
Not Magic related at all, which is fine.
It happened at the Magic Shop.
It did happen at the Magic Shop.
Well, you got that at the Magic Shop.
Well, yes. The actual event was at the Magic Shop.
Yeah, and for the people that are just listening, I mean, this thing is dope. It's like a mini Crokinole board. It's written in cursive, right? Which so all of the youngins, you have to be an elder millennial to understand this, to be able to read such cryptic language. But it looks beautiful, man. It's going to look really good.
Elder millennial. I think they actually call them geriatric millennials.
Is that what they call it?
That's what the term is. Geriatric.
Fuck you! I was gonna say, like, we're celebrating the 100th episode, but we're also celebrating Brad and I's combined age is 100 now.
Oh.
Wow.
Because I just hit 32.
I don't know what to say right now.
I'm bad at math. It took me a few seconds to get that.
No, I mean...
He's not that old.
I'm not that old. And I knew Andy wasn't that old, and I didn't know where that joke was going, and I'm kind of insulted.
But
that was the plan.
Going to do this as a shit post, but it's kind of becoming a shit post.
This is what happens when you put all the legends of the SnapCast podcast in one room.
As soon as you invited
why
us,
we limit it to 2 people.
Yeah.
You know, this is why we don't get shit done when it's all of us, right? We don't get shit done. You thought we were getting shit done? Thought we were gonna give you some financial advice or some shit? No, you better buckle up. This ain't gonna be it's not what's going on.
You said it in the intro, all those French words, casual and competitive, are things that we didn't talk about when you were on the cast, really. I mean, we talked about things that got played, and we talked about events because we were trying to figure out when cards moved, but we definitely had a very finance-minded podcast. Like, we only started a podcast because you and I would talk like, dude, did you see this spoiler? Or, dude, did you see this card's getting played now? And Eldrazi Tron, they're playing 4 of Karn, the Great Creator.
Yeah. Man, we spec'd on that card hard, man. We nailed that one. I don't know. I haven't checked the price of it. It could have very well dropped.
It's better than it was.
Yeah. Dude, it's so crazy to think in 100 episodes, that's how it started. Literally just casual conversations about Magic finance at our local card shop. And then started up making some podcasts for you fellas. We're so thankful that you've joined us for 100 episodes to literally shoot the breeze about this crazy stuff.
I guess.
You know.
I guess we're thankful.
Do you guys still talk about the reserve list every week?
No.
No, not since I left the cast. That was the only way to really pick them. Like, there was a time where they were reprinting everything. Nothing was safe. You know what I mean? Nothing was safe. It was there's one goal of any company that you have out there. It's not to make friends. It's not to make people happy, regardless of what they say. It's to make money, right? Mm-hmm. And if they have these big, high-value Magic cards in the secondary market, you'd be a fool not to pay attention to that and to reprint that stuff just to build hype around sets. There was a time during quarantine when we were, this is where I would just bring up the reserve list all the time because it's like, well, they ain't gonna reprint this stuff. You know what I mean? You never knew what they were gonna reprint. First it was, we thought, oh, the old border Tarmogoyfs, so those will probably hold value. They won't reprint this damn thing into the ground. I wouldn't be surprised. That thing's like $2 now.
It's close to it. It's close enough.
It's 10 times that, but that's still pretty cheap for a Tarmogoyf.
It's $20.
It used to be 100 times that.
Oh my God, it's ridiculous. Yeah, I remember. I cracked the Tarmogoyf when they first reprinted it, and I was so scared. I immediately traded it to the card shop for I think it was $150. Yep. Like, you know what I mean? I was just like, yeah, it was $150 in store credit. Didn't feel bad about it. It was my 5th Tarmogoyf at the time, and I was like, these are going down. Like,
they did.
I'm kind of starting to look at my EDH decks and being like, I want to set a dollar limit, which is like no card should be worth more than X. Mm-hmm. One, I don't need EDH decks to be that competitive, and 2, my bank account could use that money more than my EDH deck could. Yeah. I've been thinking about that lately. Like, what can I get out of this card? What can I get out of it playing, and what can I get out of it paying my mortgage?
Yeah,
I've been really lucky with the Judge promos because I've definitely had that itch of I should just sell some of my cards. Then every quarter I get sent some promos and I was like, sell these.
I'll sell these. And so. We talked about when Mike was started with us on the cast and how that focused our cast, and when you were on the cast, kind of what we focused on. We talked a lot about EDH, but we talked about right from the start of the Judge Academy.
Yep.
And you started participating in it. How's that going?
I mean, I was a judge years ago.
Yeah.
So
been judging people his whole life.
You're not wrong. So I mean, it's kind of really getting back into it. It's a different system now, and there's annual fees. But the good thing is there's online conferences that you can attend now. It's really more of a byproduct of COVID than anything else. But it definitely now it allows me to get money out of what I do much easier. There is this giant group of people that are like, anytime you're judging, you have to get paid. And I'm like, no, I don't judge to get paid. I judge to help out the people around me. Mm-hmm. But if the company that sponsors me wants to send me some promos, I'll take those.
I mean, that's just as good as getting paid. That's like off the books pay right there.
It's actually really good.
That's off the books pay. That's
and some
honestly,
of those promos are nasty.
People shit talk the way that Blizzard goes about, or not Blizzard, D2 mind over there. That's Wizards goes about that. But man, that's probably one of the best scenarios, because I'm not sure if you want some real financial advice about how to circumnavigate those taxes, right? Sell some magic cards on eBay. Don't claim that shit. Right? Don't do that.
You can't help yourself, and you can't stop it. They're going to 1099 you if it's over $600.
That's could be the case.
But to go back to the judge promos, they actually stopped that shortly before COVID. I think they stopped giving judges.
Well, WotC stopped doing it.
WotC did, yes.
Yeah.
And then they started this third party company.
Right. So essentially, Wizards originally they ran the judge program, which was really judges ran the judge program through judge apps. Mm-hmm. But Wizards provided promos to give it at conferences, and essentially just based on a lot of different factors. One being compensation, right? Because the way it could have been looked at before is judges worked for Wizards, and Wizards was not paying judges, and that's weird.
Yep.
So they dissolved it, went to this third-party program where Judge Academy came in, and they're running it. But it was super awkward for them to start, right? Because they started 6 months before COVID, and they're like, here's our business model. Oh, that's not good. We can't run this anymore. But they've kind of adapted, and they're still new. There's still a lot of growing pains, but they're doing okay.
They're just about to go into the very first season of events that need judges.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Now, so what were you judging online events? That's what it was before?
No, I was judging it at the shop.
Oh, okay, very nice. Now, and they sent you judge promos for doing that?
So what they send me, if I go to a conference, I get promos, and really they've actually kind of put together this decent system now where you have two promos per quarter. If you go to an online conference, just attend, you get those 2 promos. If you go to an in-person one, they'll also send you 2 old promos. Then there's also the end of the year promo, which is a separate promo. We're going to get to the last conference of the year. If you present or if you organize a conference, you get that. And then also presenters get a second round of promos, etc.
So since coming on, how long have you been doing this now? It's been like a year or so?
Yeah, probably something like that.
What are some of the dopest promos you got so far doing that?
So, well, the first one, and I got so lucky, was there used to be a new member bonus as well. It's gone now. But I was able to catch one of them, which essentially just doubled the amount of promos I got.
Shit, yeah.
So instead of getting 1 of each, I got 2 of each of... We'll start with the okay ones and move up. Azuri, Claw of Progress, the red-blue Storm guy. I can't think of whatever his commander is. Mizzix. Then one of the dope ones, Kirik, son of Yawgmoth, who was like $150.
Wow. Then
the really cool one was Edgar Markov, which I got 2 of that were about $300.
Wow.
Which had not been reprinted since the Commander deck.
Yep. So, and then that deck, of course, this came out during Innistrad. So, he spiked up to 100, and then the promos went out for 300.
All the hype around that set, yeah. Oh, man, that's when people were really diving into vampires and everything, even loosely associated with them.
So, yeah, essentially, I showed up for one online conference on a weekend, and they're like, hey, here's $1,000 worth of promos. So I was like, I sold both my Edgar Markovs. I don't need that.
Yep.
And I sold 1 copy of the other commanders, and I built commander decks for them.
That's dope.
Right on.
That's cool. Is it still worth it, do you think, to keep doing that? Like, I mean, you said you don't do it for the promos. Be real with us, man. You got to do it for those promos.
So I would do it even if I didn't get them.
Really?
And I'm glad they changed their price structure as well. It's only $75 a year now to be in, which...
You got to pay them to be a judge?
You have to pay them, yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
You got to pay them?
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
I'm not going to get too into that, but
oh my God. That's some shit.
You don't need to use stage voice.
It's just how it is. When you put a camera on me, man, this is how it goes.
This is why he's famous.
But we'll get to.
Tell me more about this. Why do you have to pay them? What do they call that? Like
it's
fee?
Yeah, essentially. I mean, they offer all the training. It's a much better system than before to ensure that judges actually are capable of judging. So I will
Not
put
capable of judging, he's capable of paying $75.
Well, no,
No,
you have to
to
pass. There's a ton of tests that you have to pass.
I see.
You have to get endorsed by a level 2 judge. Now, I'll tell you, their old system was L1 had to pay 100, L2 had to pay 200, L3 had to pay 300. So it's only 75 a year now for anybody, which is just significantly better than it used to be.
Yeah.
I mean, there might be something to that. Like maybe they're thinking like if someone can pay $300 for the right to be a level 3 judge, let's say, they can probably also afford to take showers and buy new clothes. Like that's probably also
There
something.
might be something.
They
It's
might
really-
have had a reason
they're
to
a
it.
business.
They might have had a reason, but right, they are a business.
Yeah.
WotC provides them the promos, but they're offering the training, the website, the
They have
coordination
employees.
for all of this stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think they do enough, I'll be honest, but
Well,
they still, they have to pay their employees, they have to host everything, so they have to get money back somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You'd figure they'd do that with the events, though. Like you'd figure that. I mean, that just seems weird.
here's the
No,
thing.
there's nothing in the
There
events.
hasn't been any events.
Well, even with an event, like they don't make money on events.
Right, so because the judges would get paid directly. If SCG is running an event and they hire 10 judges, SCG pays the judges, not the Judge Academy.
I see. I see. So it's more. I get it now. So it's more of like you're kind of paying to be licensed, essentially.
Yes,
And
exactly.
that affords you some opportunities to get paid
To
as a
earn money,
judge.
exactly.
Okay. Now
like,
that sort of makes
like
sense.
paying $100 to get tips training so you can go be a bartender.
I see
Exactly.
what you mean. I see what you mean. Okay. Makes a little more sense now. I understand that. And then plus every once in a while they just throw in some promos there too.
Wizards was trying to cut themselves out of the system, so they didn't have that bad image of like, we're technically hiring, quote unquote, hiring these judges, but we're not paying them.
Right. So it's more now like they're training them. So now I kind of get what you're saying though about like you'd still do that had it be not for the promos because it being licensed as a judge sort of affords you these opportunities.
Right. So back in the day, like before Judge Academy took it over, before COVID really is the important thing, you had to go to in-person conferences. There was no online conferences, and everyone that's watching knows we're from Maine. There's no judge conferences in Maine.
Closest one was probably what, Boston?
There was actually one in, not Boston, but still Massachusetts. But back in the day, like, I know Austin and I, my old roommate, he was a judge as well. We were looking at flying out to Vegas, I think.
Yeah.
And trying to think if, like, here's the promos going to, like, actually pay for this trip.
Was that Burger King, Austin?
That's Burger King. Austin.
No way. Dude, who was? Is it you that has Austin?
I got the
man.
playmat.
Our boy Austin was in a Burger King commercial.
Oh, it's
This
great.
guy's got like hair for days. Like I mean, like that type of. He's got like
I like
that
that's
fade.
the thing that you focus on.
He's got like the fade right up to the right up to the hairline. It's all pushed to the side.
He's a good-looking dude.
I mean, he's a good-looking dude, right? Ends up in a Burger King commercial. This dude, what's the first thing he do? He friggin' memes and puts him on a fucking magic mat and plays on top of Austin now with his Burger King commercial ad. Oh, it was just great, man. It was great. Props to that. I was wondering if it was the same dude.
Oh, yeah.
All right. He's a judge now, too.
Well,
Yeah, so he and he still is.
Okay.
I believe he still is. He thinks he still is. I can't confirm that he's actually done anything through Judge Academy. So, if you were a judge before Judge Academy, now this doesn't apply to me because I quit Magic and mine expired. But you could have you didn't have to do all the tests and everything. You could just transfer over. You just had to pay the fee. I'm assuming he has. He asked me the other day about going to a judge conference in DC. So at least he thinks he is. Whether what he knows about the new system or not, I don't know.
Well, I can tell you, I haven't played Magic in 2.5 weeks, so I still think I'm a Magic player. But I have not been able to make it to an F&M or a Tuesday night Magic at the shop in a couple of weeks.
Yep.
Have you guys been playing any Magic?
I haven't seen Muller there either.
No, I haven't made it to a Friday night in about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I have played online a little bit. I had a 4-0.
You played a lot online.
I played a lot online. I had a 4-0 in a prelim Monday night. I did play Paper Magic in New Hampshire
That's right.
over the weekend.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I went to a 1K with K-Flag. K-Flag made top 8, so congrats to him.
Again?
Again. I got honorary ninth on 0.4% of a breaker. It's weird. Someone had 2 draws. They drew again in round 5, so they got 9 points technically. And there was a bunch of 9-pointers, and I just happened my breakers.
When you are a 9-pointer and 3 of those points come from draws.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's odd.
So, but it was close, and no hard feelings, and I'll get it next time.
How do you guys feel about that anyway? Like, is that ever happening to you guys? Like, you go to a tournament and like someone wins the first 2 rounds, and they're like, "Oh, all right, I got all this time off now. If everybody wants to draw in, like, I don't know. Personally, I always showed up at those tournaments. I'm like, I'll draw if it's like make or break for the last one or something. But usually I just showed up to play Magic.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I figured, hey, I brought my decks. I sharpened my skills against, when we all were playing at the Bangor shop, I would vouch to say that we had the best group of players in the state. Like the best modern players in the state. Like when you look at it as like a conglomerate.
If you're talking about,
these are the
5-6 years ago,
exactly, like 5 or 6 years ago. So it's like I was confident. I was like, man, I've been playing the best people. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't need to draw. But like, there's people that do that in tournaments. They win the first couple of rounds and then they draw for the next 3 rounds. I don't know. I kind of see it as like a cheap out way. That's always how I've seen it. What do you guys think on it? Is that legit? Like,
definitely. I mean, I'll jump in, then I'll turn it to you. Usually, Muller's going to talk about his situation, and it was not intentional draws.
Right.
Generally, a lot of the times, like if you go in undefeated, you can draw the last 2 rounds. That's most of the events I go to, the size-wise, that's like how the math works. And a lot of times, you'll see people that second to last round, they'll draw to ensure they are guaranteed in top 8. And then you'll have some people that will still play the last round, even though they don't have to try to aim for seeding. Because in top 8, whoever has the better record chooses player draw instead of a coin flip or dice roll or whatever. I absolutely do. I haven't been in that position for a while. But, last time I was, I double drawed. I actually did not double draw because my opponent wanted to play.
Yeah.
But, yeah, absolutely. And honestly, part of it's just to ensure you get there.
Yeah.
The other part for me is I want to go into top 8 with my brain clear. Especially if you're playing a more complicated deck. You know this. You played Dice Factory, you played Hardened Scales, you played Affinity. Like, those math-intensive decks, like getting that brain to go.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm ready to go again.
Yeah, that was
kind of important.
That's actually a good point. It's just like I remember I went to Massachusetts once and I played Legacy Dredge, and that was a far more complicated deck than I ever thought it would be.
Let me guess.
And
against Jim Davis.
Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. The first
heard the story
2
once or
rounds.
twice.
The first 2 rounds, I didn't miss a beat. Not a trigger. Not anything, man.
Yeah.
I was on it. I was like, I had sharpened up my skills the night before with it. I felt comfortable with it. Didn't miss anything. The 3rd game was indeed against Jim Davis. I wasn't even gonna name drop. But like, I wasn't nervous playing against Jim Davis. Like, you know what I mean?
You just get tired after focusing that hard for round after round after round.
And probably it had something to do with the fact that I knew I was playing against a good player. So you're like, don't fuck this up. Like, you know what I mean? You got to make the right choice here because he's good.
The name of this episode is going to be something like Cooley, the reserve list, and Jim Davis.
But, I found myself making bad calls, like, looking back, I'm like, I shouldn't have called that with Cabal Therapy. Like, I should have called the card that kills me. You know what I mean? I no matter what, like, I should have done that. Or, I missed that trigger. I should have done this first turn so that in case he slams a rest in peace, I can still respond with this. I didn't even think, like, you know what I mean? I wouldn't have missed that game 1 or game 2, I feel like. But the more you tax yourself out and the more you play the game, like, the more you mentally wear yourself down, especially if you're the type of player that's bringing in, like, random deck every week.
And I don't think this is a wild opinion, but it definitely gets some argument and comment in the comment section. I think Cabal Therapy is the most skill-intensive Magic card ever printed.
Couldn't agree more. That's requires you to really next level your opponent, to know, like, what they could do that could hurt you, how they respond can change what you do. Like someone brainstorms in response.
I've never cast it, so I mean I don't know. Like I don't know how to.
For me, it's not only the argument of I have to know decks and know Magic and know all this theory, but also I need to be able to really truly read what was in my opponent's hand based on their play patterns before.
Yeah, that's
card's incredible.
So, Zach, I want to give you the next thing to say, but one of the conversations that I wanted to have while everybody was here is they just and Mike might not be up to snuff on this, but they just re-announced the return to competitive paper play with something called the Pro Tour, with regional qualifiers, with local qualifiers, regional qualifiers, the Pro Tour and Worlds, and an incentive structure that says, if you do well in 2 in a row, basically you can keep your ball rolling. But there's no more gold, there's no more silver, there's no more platinum. Yep. And they have a weight system where you basically take the first 9 points that you win off of your total, and then you have to build up 37 or 32.
Yeah.
They have a name for it, which is basically a weighted point system, so that you can stay on the Pro Tour even if you don't win, even if you don't top 8, you just do well enough consistently. And so I think that incentivizes players to play further into a tournament where they're like, I lost 2 rounds, but if I do well in the next 3.
That was always the old thing with Planeswalker points, where if you went to like a PTQ or something, and you're like, okay, well, I can't top 8 for a while, like you just be like, all right, I'll drop out, like whatever. But back then, especially because you had the point modifiers for it being a competitive REL event, you're like, I still want to keep playing so I can earn enough Planeswalker points to get my buy at GP whatever.
Right.
Oh yeah, no more buys.
And that's right.
I like that.
And that's kind of how I felt like those first 9 points that you'd essentially win with this new system kind of eliminates those buys, right?
Yep.
Because like you mentioned, Andy, Planeswalker points could accumulate up to 2 or 3 buys for you, which was really giving you a major head start in those big events.
Absolutely
because
massive.
You wouldn't have to fight through those first few early rounds of whatever tier 2 decks you might play against. Your brain
or if you're bringing a tier 2 deck yourself,
right?
You get 3 wins.
Getting into that.
If you have a tier 2 deck that's aimed at the meta,
exactly,
you could jump up to meta decks.
Right, and also to tie it in with what you guys were talking about, like it kind of saves your mental capacity for those later rounds.
Yep.
It might get you farther in those rounds.
Yeah.
But to loop it back to the old system, the ELO system, players would hit a certain rating where they knew that they would be allowed buys or invites, and they'd stop playing.
They'd go out on top.
They'd stop playing for weeks into the Pro Tour, so that they knew that they could hold that rating
until
on top until they needed
It's the way to go.
Exactly. You haven't lost a match in how long?
Straight. It's been a long time. I can't even remember the last time.
Sorry.
No, it's good. But and then to go back to the draws, the intentional draws, I'm okay with intentional drawing in the last round or 2. This guy at this 1K, they were not intentional. He was playing out into time, and then he was playing out the past 5 rounds, and him and his opponent had each won a game apiece, and they had to draw. And it just got to round 5 where me and Kevin looked at each other and were like, he's gonna draw again. There's the chances of him drawing again are really high, and that's what happened.
Wow.
It's unfortunate, but it is what it is.
It happens, man.
So.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that's interesting. I'm happy that they're just they're coming back to in-person events. I mean, I remember talking about this like a year ago with you, Brad. Like, when are these going to come back? It almost seems like, gosh, we thought the pandemic was going to be over so like quickly.
2 weeks.
Like, oh yeah, a few months we'll be back. Here we are, like 2 years later.
Man.
2 years later, man. Who would have thought?
Yep.
And finally, we come back as would be expected, and things have just switched up quite a bit. Gotta say, this is the first I've heard about like no more buys and stuff like that. I like that.
Well, I
like that.
There's kind of a reason for that though, Cooley. Like, this is, we've kind of hinted at it a little bit. You mentioned D2 a little while ago. Like, what have you been doing since you've left SnapCast?
Basically beating everyone's ass on Diablo 2.
Beating everybody's ass on YouTube.
No. I took some time to focus on the Diablo 2 content. I had some big opportunities land in my lap with that. Facebook gaming opportunity, which was dope. Even to the point I went part-time at my regular full-time job for that, it was cool, man. Like, check it off the bucket list. Like, be a content creator full-time. That was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Things have since changed. I'm still doing YouTube, Twitch, and all of this stuff. But happy to be in sort of a pattern of a little bit more normalcy now. It's good to have a normal job on top of doing this.
I'm sure, because you hit like a pocket of fame, which helps, right? But just having that secondary income is not. Content creators that try to jump into this head first, I think they end up running into these roadblocks where like they try to rely on this too soon. Oh,
no doubt. There's some people that get like 10K subs on YouTube, I heard, and quit their full-time job.
Oh God.
And go for it. I mean, I even know some people in what I do that had actually quit their job and started just cranking out content. I mean, it's cool, man. There's a surprising amount of money on the internet. Like, it's kind of stupid. I look at it and I'm just kind of a big dummy from Maine. Like, I really, you know what I mean? I'm kind of stupid. Like, when I look at it objectively, the 10,000 foot view, I'm like, what the fuck? If I can do this, it's kind of scary because like literally anybody can. Like, this.
Well, and there's also a big difference between doing it at 23, and doing it at 33 or 43 or whatever.
68.
68, exactly. At 68, having 25 weekly viewers on YouTube is not going to pay my mortgage. But I can understand somebody that's 23 that has 3 roommates and no overhead. That's like, dude, I'm making $600 a week off of YouTube. Yeah. That's great. Yeah. That's way better than bussing dishes. I mean, that's way better than anything that I probably did until I was
oh man,
28.
Like, if you really take it seriously, though, it's a lot of people think that like they see people making shit on YouTube and they're just like, oh, this is dumb or what have you, or like it's so stupid that people get paid for this or whatnot. Man, look at people like Mr. Beast, right? Like someone who's an insane YouTuber. You know how much work that guy put in to like study and learn the algorithm. Like, I mean, before he was big, like he did so much. He literally, he didn't have a job. He basically dropped out of college. He was just on the JRE talking about this, and like, it's big. There's a lot of stuff you got to learn for it. There's a lot of subtleties and all this stuff. Some of the stuff I've learned along the way, but it's a job just like anything else, man. Like, you need to develop a specific skill set for it. Some of which, I mean, I don't even have. I'm just kind of lucky that like the Diablo audience is like it's almost like a cult audience for this game. You know what I mean? Just like devoted people that, that go and watch people, just about anybody who puts out content out there. But, so it's like, there's nothing really special about me.
Well, You have personality, like, no doubt about that. That was one of the strengths that you brought. Like, our conversations were always great on this cast because
now you're stuck with Zach, and I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's funny because I actually think one of the reasons, not to say that it didn't work out well with Andy and I, but we have a more comparable demeanor.
Yep.
And I think that Zach and I have a different demeanor, and you and I had a different demeanor, but I play your role with Zach. I'm the feisty one.
Yeah.
I'm the one that gets excited.
Got to get him all riled up.
Yeah. I'm the one that's like, can you believe that they printed a card that makes planeswalkers into creatures?
I'm just like, yeah, whatever.
That's the one I have on the TV right now.
Yeah. Which is actually pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean,
make your own Gideon.
Make your own Gideon. So on the TV right now, I have Luxior Gyada's Gift. Let's let this be the only preview from New Capenna that we talk about tonight.
Fair enough.
A 1-drop legendary artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each counter on it. I would love to put this on my walking ballista. I would love to put this on my whatever. I know what Andy wants to put it on, so I'll let him talk about it. Next line of text. Equipped permanent isn't a planeswalker and is a creature in addition to its other types. Loyalty abilities can still be activated. Equipped to a planeswalker for 1, equipped to a creature for 1.
For 3.
For 3.
There's a
That's a
typo.
mistype.
That's a mixed type.
Sorry.
Yep.
You could put like I hate to be this guy, right? Like I know everybody's all think about planeswalkers with this, right? Makes sense. Makes sense. It's on there. But what
Go
about
ahead, tell me what you think.
what about that? I'm gonna forget the name of it, but it's Helix Pinnacle. Is that the right card that I'm thinking about?
You can't
Yes.
equip this, but
So it's like a 1-drop enchantment that has like hexproof and all of
Yep.
this shit.
No, that's right.
And it gets like a
Can someone
counter.
call a
And if
judge?
it has 100 counters on it, you win the game.
Yep.
yeah.
But like, okay, well, while it's getting there, you know what I mean? Let's just swing in with this big fatty that's got like what, indestructible and hexproof or whatever. Like, what has it got? I feel like that.
So,
just
well, you got to
immediately
make
came
that
to mind.
enchantment into a creature.
So
to do
two problems. One, you do have to make it into a creature because this cannot equip enchantments.
Even though it says equipped permanent, you
Yeah.
can only equip it to a planeswalker or a creature.
Because that's the abilities it have.
That's
Two,
just stupid.
That extra ability that Helix Pinnacle has
50-cent rare.
is Shroud.
That sucks.
So you can't equip
You
this.
can't even do it anyway.
That
Even if
sucks.
you made it a creature, you couldn't do this.
Well, you couldn't even man it into a creature at that point.
Well,
either,
clearly
'cause you
that's
can't
the only
target.
good combo that would have
Opalescence.
worked with this.
Okay.
So, I mean, 50-cent mythic,
Hold
I would
on.
say.
Before you decide the cost of this card, Andy messaged me when this card got previewed, and he's like, "What did you say?"
So one of the things we do, and before I get into this, is whenever a card is printed that just breaks a card that is broken constantly, in the Judge Discord, we'll talk about, oh, they broke Intruder Alarm again, and then or you'll have like all the shit posts of, we figured out a combo with Intruder Alarm. Whoa,
Who knew?
who knew? But Devoted Druid. This goes infinite with Devoted Druid.
Oh, shit.
Because every time you put a -1/-1 counter on it,
He
it
gets
does not
+1/+1.
get canceled out technically,
Oh,
but
that's dope.
the power and toughness doesn't change.
Because this gets a +1/+1 for each counter on it. It doesn't
Yeah.
care that those counters are minus counters.
Right.
Yep.
They balance themselves out.
Yep.
Right.
So obviously infinite mana. The cool thing, and the only reason why I bring it up, because there's a million ways to break Devoted Druid. Like let's not
Yeah,
be.
oh, yeah.
Right.
That's why
But
it's one
on
of those
turn
jokes.
2,
But here's the thing. Because this is also fetchable with Urza Saga, you can legitimately play Urza Saga on 1, play Devoted Druid on 2. On turn 3, your Saga will go fetch this. You get to equip it and make it infinite mana on turn 3
Oh, that's beautiful.
with just 2 cards, and like it fits into a deck where you can also run Vizier in this deck. Like you can also run Coco. You can also run Heliod. Like
You only need one.
right. So it's faster than Heliod normally, but also it can be. But also like it's just makes the deck so much more consistent
Yeah.
that I think you could see that coming back in Modern, which especially with Lurrus being banned, Heliod's printable, playable again.
hey, remember when your boys told you to buy Heliods?
Oh, yeah. That's right. So
We're still waiting on that payoff.
So do you think really that this is now that you mention that, I mean, that's almost as good as the combo that I theorized. I mean, it's almost good, but it's probably more playable. Let's be serious.
Definitely more playable.
Okay, Cooley, what do you think about this line? Urza's mine. Luxior. Urza's tower. I don't care. Third one. Karn. Plus Karn. Next turn, equip this to Karn. Plus Karn. Swing 14.
Interesting. Yeah. There's a lot of busted shit. I feel like that's equipping a 50-cent mythic to a busted card already, though. Like, you know what I mean? That's how I see it.
I like it with Stonecoil Serpent and in Pioneer.
Multicolor reach.
Here's why. This is
But
why.
like it's already played in the Pioneer's boggles.
Yep.
And all of a sudden this now just kind of doubles its power and toughness.
Whatever its power and toughness was, it's double. Yep.
Essentially. I mean, obviously you're not gonna double like whatever other enchantments you have on it, but still pretty good.
So as we've seen, Brad and I used to talk about this shit all the time. That like when some card like this gets printed, there's so much hype around it, and everybody at first they aim right at this card with all of their bucks, right? They save up their money. They're just like, oh man, I got to get me 2, 3, 4 of these, right? But what they might not think about right off first, that we were always good at you know, sometimes calling the obvious, and I feel like that's might be what I'm doing here. But like, this might actually be a good time to get your Urza Sagas, right? Like, I mean, because clearly with that, like, I know it sucks right now because Urza Saga just seems like it keeps going up. But like, as long as they're printing one-drop cards like this that are gonna fit right into decks, I mean, there's decks that already use Urza Saga that are like creature toolbox decks. Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, it just fits in there pretty well. You can put a one of in here, which is more of an argument for me. Honestly, I think this is a 50-cent mythic. Like, you know, this is probably gonna be a one of because everybody's just gonna be using 4 Urza Sagas instead of 4 of these, right?
What I also like, as soon as Urza Saga was printed, the one deck that came out in Modern that I was surprised of was Blue-White Control. Would run 4 Urza Sagas, and they would run a card called Brainstone.
Yep.
There we go. And then you could also go get a map to go get another Urza Saga.
Yeah.
That fell out of favor. But I do kind of like that coming back in that, half the time Blue-White Control, I'm stuck on the field, like, I have no way to kill my opponent, I just have a Teferi sitting here. It's like, oh, well, now I'll just equip my Teferi and start swinging that.
Right.
And that Teferi problem that sometimes happens where you keep plussing it every turn, and it's like, well, it has no payoff.
It doesn't really
and
do
there's so
anything.
many decks now that are like Renin 6 deck as well. So like, you know what I mean? You could potentially do this on 1, Renin 6 on 2, and then like by the 3rd turn, like you're equipped in this for 1, probably putting some more defense out, having vicious damage with Renin 6. Yeah. Like, you know, it's kind of ridiculous.
Renin 6 gets your Urza Saga back.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's ridiculous.
It's the amount of decks that Urza Saga has slotted into, like Jund, is absurd. And
gross.
You're talking about a 3-color deck that's going to run 4 of a colorless land.
Yeah. I mean, and it did help, say, Hammer Time. It basically created Hammer Time decks because they had the Colossal Hammer, they just didn't have an easy way to fetch it. And now they can fetch it on turn 3.
Yeah. Took it from tier 2 to tier 1.
Yeah,
and really what a lot of it does is you forget about everything else and go, sometimes you just don't want to play a card and you just make a construct.
Yep.
And it's like that mode is so powerful.
I have lost games to that.
I've lost and won games to that. Like that's I played the first deck I ever played Urza Saga in was Lantern Control. And there was just matchups where it was like, yeah, I'm not gonna play my Ensnaring Bridge. I'm not going to play really anything. I'm just going to play Urza Saga and make dudes and just kill you. Especially in that deck, because they would be like 10/10s.
Yeah.
I haven't had the pleasure, and I use air quotes with that, I haven't had the pleasure of playing against an Urza Saga yet in Modern. Can you guys just enlighten me? How fun is that card to play against?
I mean, it's fine.
It's fine.
It's interesting.
Like, when you see an Urza Saga get jammed out turn 1, you're like, here we go. Like,
So-
you know,
so-
Go ahead.
No, you go first.
I feel like I've talked enough. Go
Okay.
ahead.
So funny thing about Fish Cooley is we play 4 Spreading Seas. Well, with Urza Saga being a saga, if you erase the text of what the saga does, it pops. So I play Spreading Seas, and with MH2 I got another like Spreading Seas like effect. I can blow that up in my mono blue deck. And I don't give a shit.
Well, so can you slow that down for the people like myself? If you Spreading Seas and Urza's Saga
Just raise your hand and say judge.
blows up,
Just
like,
raise your hand and say judge.
Do it right now. Raise your hand. Say judge. Do it.
Yeah.
Judge me, please.
Yes. So I can step in. So sagas.
So I can step in, like you didn't expect that one.
I know.
He's like, Brad, go edit that out, right? Don't ask him to do that.
Hey, I pay $75 a year. I gotta get this when I can.
Licensed. Go ahead,
But yeah, no. So the way sagas work is they have very specific ruling in the comprehensive text. One of the rules is how they are sacrificed. If you've ever played sagas, any of them, you know that they hit their 3 and eventually they go away.
Right.
So the way they work in the comprehensive text is they get sacrificed under 2 conditions. One is when they have an equal or more saga counters, or lore counters is what it's called, then it has chapter abilities. And 2, no chapter abilities are on the stack. Really weird rule, just means the saga doesn't sack until everything resolves.
It sounds like that was a very deliberate wording of that. Where
Yes.
they,
So with Spreading Seas, you hit it. It probably already has 1 lore counter on it, but even if it has none, it's fine. That's why Blood Moon's going to work the same way. And the saga will look and be like, I have no lore count. I have more lore counters than I have saga abilities or chapter abilities, and none of them are on the stack.
Bye.
Yeah, so I've done my job here.
So, okay, so it sort of works like, let's say a Blood Moon's in play and someone slaps down and Urza's Saga just blows up.
It's gone.
Yep.
Okay, so how does it know that it's a Saga coming in? Is it sort of like a
So
Planeswalker checking?
Saga is an enchantment type, just like you have creature types, you have land types.
Yep.
So it's going to retain that.
I see.
Blood Moon
Through
only
Blood
changes
Moon.
land types.
Yep, I gotcha. Gotcha.
There is also another wonderful card that was printed into Magic recently called March of Otherworldly Light.
Oh my god.
Tell me. And March of Otherworldly
That has
enlighten me.
X and a white,
X and a white.
instant, exile target enchantment, creature, or artifact with CMC
Less than or equal to.
less than or equal to
X.
Oh, yeah.
And
I think
so-
I saw some of that. Yeah.
Urza's Saga
Is an
is an enchantment with a CMC of, or a converted mana value of 0.
Oh, wow.
So you can pay a white and Stone Rain somebody.
Wow. So that's why I saw so much of that in the. I saw this white and X spell, and I was like, why are we using this over Path these days? That's why.
The last
It's right
one,
here.
the last
hits more
1K that
things.
I played, both GB and I got Stone Rained on. His opponent went Reveal Kahira, which is normally a control companion,
Yep.
and played a fetch land, a flooded strand. And GB said, I'm probably playing against control. He played a tapped artifact land. His opponent said, end step, crack my fetch, get whatever white land. March of Otherworldly Light,
No friggin' way.
your land,
Yep.
No friggin'
untap,
way.
Cavern of Souls, Aether Vial, Cavern of Souls naming elementals.
Okay, so
I'm on an
that-
aggro deck and I stone drained you on your turn 1.
Okay, so they can do that to artifact lands now.
Yep.
Okay, so this is. I got a gripe with this, all right?
So they should
Like,
unban artifact lands.
Unban Mox Opal, bros. Like,
Oh,
what are
no.
we doing
fine.
here?
That's
What are
fine,
we
man.
doing here? Like, now we have all of these. We got. I mean, even if you don't do that, right? Unban the colored artifact lands, then, right? Like, come on. Like,
I'm kind of
at
okay
least
with
give
that.
I'm
us
fine with that.
I'm
Like,
kind
at
of fine with
least
that.
give us that.
It makes their design
Like
even
you've
better,
beat
but
down
I'm still
Affinity.
fine with that.
You have said I mean, basically, Wizards has conceded to be like, you Affinity players are really good. You're really. It's not that your deck is broken. It's just that the good players tend to run Affinity decks, and I can't really say I disagree with them.
For those that might not know, way long ago when I first met Cooley, he was one of the big shot affinity players in the state of Maine.
And he means big shot.
And I do mean that.
I mean-
Keep adding that whiskey.
But he was
Had a hard time getting through doorways.
but he really was a really hardcore affinity player.
Yeah.
And Mox Opal being banned probably just broke him.
I was in denial.
Broke a
for
lot of
I was
people.
like, well, whatever. We don't need that card. You know, that was it. That was at first what I thought. But Affinity really does change when you just don't have these sporadic busted plays that even when you're on the draw, that you immediately catch up to your opponent with. Like, I mean, that was what made it good. It was otherwise it was just an aggro deck. You know what I mean? You're always kind of playing behind if you're on the draw, not till you hit Mox Opal. Suddenly it's like, all right, we back in this. Like, and suddenly I was on the play and I got to draw a card. You know,
Banned card. If you've looked at it recently, don't tell me. But what do you guys think a Mox Opal is worth right now?
I'm gonna guess it's probably worth about $50.
Andy?
It's funny because I have not been paying attention to Mox Opal. I've been paying attention to the other one,
Mox Amber?
Mox Amber, which has been going crazy.
Yep.
I'm gonna say I remember it at 50. I'm gonna say 75.
I'm gonna go the other direction. I think it has dipped below 50. I'll say it's like 45.
Real, you just price is right. Like,
He's
close enough. $1. $1, Bob. That's it.
That is totally fair. And to be fair, the price has just come down a little bit. But original Scars 66, Double Masters 67, Modern Masters 60, Judge 80. And Masterpiece 325.
So what's keeping these alive still at the 67 mark? You know,
CDs.
And they're going up.
They are going up, which is
That's
surprising.
That's the thing that kills me is it got a double Masters printing after the banning.
Yep.
And is still going up.
wow.
Yep. CEDH. I mean, they're still played in Legacy. Like they're always gonna be played in Legacy.
It is legacy playable.
But like,
CEDH is going to stores now. Like there are stores that are hosting CEDH tournaments. I mean, that's the only thing that I can think of. It's just either that or there's a holdover crew out there that's thinking someday they'll unban it.
well, there definitely is, and I think that's probably part of like the scarcity is those players that still have four copies in their binder, not because they just want to have 4 copies in their binder and they have nothing else to do with it, but because I could sell these, but what if they get unbanned? I better keep them.
Well, it's like, you know, as an Affinity player, when it got banned, you want to know, like, there was a ton of thoughts that I had raced through my head, but you want to know what one of them, like, one thought that did not come into my mind was like, let me sell these right now.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Oh my
That's
gosh.
the worst time to
here's
sell
my
them.
opportunity to fucking sell these things. No. Like, it's the worst time to sell them.
Yeah.
And, like, you know that they're a really good card. Like, if those dropped to like $20, I still wouldn't. It wouldn't be like, oh man, I missed my opportunity. I'd be like, well,
That was something you
good
guys
card.
talked about a long time ago. Was some of the better cards to buy into is cards that were recently banned.
We used to say that all the time.
Because guess what? They happen to be really good cards.
Yeah.
They happen to be wicked good cards.
Yeah.
I know.
I know.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Nope. You're
I
in.
was going to say that to the foil full-out Luris that I've had sitting in my binder for 6 months because
That's funny.
I definitely
I
sat
was-
on that. So
It's funny because that's exactly where I was going to go with that, which is that's one of those sort of exceptions to that rule,
Vintage.
where when you are so banned and not playable in EDH,
Right. Well, there's also, when that happens, though, that's also an opportunity. Because, I mean, how many cards has that really happened to in recent history besides Luris, right? Like,
Luris, Uro, Oko.
right, yeah, like, there's
Those kind of big
a
three.
small list of them. But if you look at all of those cards, right, like, Uro, Oko, those cards are so good that it almost changes the entire way that they'll ever think about doing cards like that again, right? So like you can kind of use that as an example, and you can say, all right, when I look at these planeswalkers that are at the 3-drop spot or less, what was it that made Oko so busted? You know what I mean? What other planeswalkers might be out there, like this? But let's take it more specifically, right, to Luris. And, the companion mechanic, which we knew was busted as soon as they printed it. We were like, this
Still
is...
hate it.
Like, I mean, some people call it an overreaction, almost comparing it to, like, Planeswalkers when they announced that. They're like, oh, this is just gonna break the game. Like, no, I think people were right. Like, it
broke
was
the game.
so bad to, like, just
It did.
immediately start with 8
Even-
cards in your hand.
Even after they changed the rules.
Yeah.
That made you have to pay the mana. Like, we just looked at Modern, right? Like, Modern has changed so drastically since Luris was banned. Some of the top decks are still top decks.
Yeah.
But they're very different. And there's so many other decks playing that. Like, it's...
So
crazy.
my thought would be for like, taking that into account and thinking that they're always going to remember that example. Like if they ever have the crazy idea in their head to go back to try the companion mechanic again, someone at headquarters is going to be like, hey, dumbass, the last time we tried that, we got a card banned in every format. So if you do this, make sure the cards are garbage, right? So it makes me think
banned in Vintage.
So
besides like anti-cards.
Oh yeah. So it makes me think,
Zerda?
What companion cards right now
Lurrus.
should you be like kind of picking up, like if they're cheap, because they're probably never going to print that mechanic again. They may reprint the card again. That's kind of what they do these days. But like thinking about those special versions that we always used to talk about, the original versions, cards that they may not have a good opportunity to print again, although that's kind of a loose term as well these days. Like they'll find any reason to reprint anything. But it makes me think that if you are going to call some sort of investment or look to something, which is, again, very hard to do in a non-reserved list world that we live in, I would really be paying attention to that companion mechanic and looking at, like, Yorion. You know what I mean? These other cards that are kind of uniquely playable and change decks entirely when they show up. Yeah, sure, they could be reprinted, but that's the risk we take by investing, if you can call it that, in cards that are not on the reserve list. That would be where I would look when this type of shit happens, especially when, well, Brad said you have something that's banned in friggin' every format. Like you basically can't run it anywhere. Like it forces you to take a hard look at that mechanic, I think. Big pick on Yorion this week. That's mine.
Well, so companions have been kind of a hot topic for people to talk about on social media and whatnot since the Lurrus ban, before the Lurrus ban. People have been saying the whole suite of companions should just be banned. And
Yep,
the mechanic shouldn't be used just again.
Right.
But then there were also people that are saying, well, you could make it again and make an entire new set of companions, because if only certain decks are using certain companions, it's unfair for the decks that can't use those companions, and you should just make more companions to fit those other decks.
And this is where I say, the only answer to a bad guy with a companion is a good guy with a companion.
I mean, if they want to give Merfolk a companion, as long as it's decent, I'll probably play it.
No, never. No, please no.
All right, so I know I said that we would only talk about one spoiler from New Capenna.
It was a lie.
But it was a lie because Cooley brought up the 3-drop Planeswalker thing. And in New Capenna, we are getting a new Obnixilis the Adversary, 1 black-red legendary Planeswalker Nixilis with the +1. Each opponent loses 2 life unless they discard a card. If you control a demon or devil, you gain 2 life. -2, create a 1/1 red devil token. With when it dies, deal 1 damage to any target. Or -7, target player draws 7 and loses 7 life. It also has a static ability, which we're seeing become more common. The static ability here is Casualty. Casualty is an X amount that you can pay by sacrificing a creature as you cast this spell, and you get the effect at the CMC of that spell. So for Casualty X, you make a token copy of Obnixilis that is not legendary and has starting loyalty equal to the CMC, or I'm sorry, the power of the creature that you sacrifice, which is even better.
Interesting.
You get 2 copies of him for basically the price of 1.
Interesting.
If you have something like somebody was just talking about this on our Facebook page the other day. What's the 3-mana dinosaur in
Rotting
black?
Regisaurus.
Rotting Regisaurus is 7 CMC or 7 power.
Yep.
For 3.
7/6, I think.
So you play that on 3. You play this on 4, sacking that, and you get an Obnixilis that you can ultimate.
That's crazy. Also, something I just realized reading his abilities, you're guaranteed to make a copy of him. You can use the -2 of one of the copies, and then you can +1 and get an immediate drain effect of his first ability, because he creates a devil.
Yeah.
Oh, so if you end up with
if
2,
you end up with 2,
you can
they feed off of each other, which is actually pretty nice.
Yeah.
So theoretically, thinking about the Rotting Regisaur, right? You play him on 3. and then let's say you got a clear board. You swing in for 7, right? Then you slam this guy out, and you copy him by sacking the Regisaur, ultimate the dude, make him lose 7 life, hit him with the other dude for another 2.
Yep.
And like, oh my god, that's so much damage. That's like 16 damage.
That's a lot.
Hope you ain't got fetch lands in that deck. Like that's
4.
And then just bolt next turn. Like, hope you got the answer for everything here.
Yeah.
That's holy hell. Like that's kind of insane. And that's just like that's how many times is the board open and like people ain't ready to deal with a 7/6, but like
or how many times can you start on turn 1 with a ignoble hierarch and play your rotting Regisaur on 2?
Oh, that's even worse because you're dealing 8 with it, and then you sack for 8, and then you got the copy that's still alive. Oh my god, that's kind of ridiculous. That gets pretty stupid at that point. Not gonna lie.
What do you think, Andy? Have we taken them to Magical Christmas Land?
So I think I'm very alone in this opinion. I don't think he's any good.
You probably
I think he could slot into a Rakdos sacrifice deck because you have to want to sacrifice that creature.
Yeah.
Because whatever creature you're actually playing that you're sacrificing better be worse than an Obnixilis.
Right.
Otherwise, why are you sacking him for it? And if you're playing a creature that's worse than him, you don't get benefits for sacking him. Why are you playing that creature?
No, I'm kind of actually on board with that. When I first look at that, I didn't really overreact too much because I kind of feel the same way. For a lot of reasons, I actually don't think he's that good. Because even in the situation we're talking about with the rotting Regisaur, right? Like, if someone's not responding to that for the exact reason that I just said, they're not worried about that. Right. So what are you going to do? Like, you're gonna sacrifice it? Oh, okay, that's great. Like, you know what I mean? You're going to sacrifice it, and then what, are they just suddenly going to be surprised by, what's going on? What, are you going to make them draw 7 cards from something they weren't even already worried about? Or are you going to draw 7 cards?
What would make this card good for me is if the +1 was reworded to say each opponent loses or discards a card if they can't lose 2 life. Here, like, just having a +1, yeah, it's on a 3-drop, but it just makes opponents lose 2 life.
Yeah.
And, I mean, they're not going to discard a card, but they can if they have to.
Right.
It's just not that exciting with a +1. It does not affect the board at all.
Right. It doesn't really give you card advantage. It's
we have the Devil, which is cool, but we already had a 3-drop Tybalt that did the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It feels like they're definitely going to choose to discard the worst card out of their hand as opposed to taking the 2 life.
Yeah.
I think they're going to take 2 life just about every time. And I think 2 life is nothing.
Like Incarnation, casting that for free, and then drop this down and get some ad value by I don't know. Like, there's some crazy shit.
Yeah, you're going way out of cards at that point.
Yeah, at that point, like, it's kind of.
All right. How about if I steal somebody else's creature? What's that? Threaten effect, whatever.
Why are you playing Threaten? I'm with you. Like, it's sweet, but like, why are you playing bad cards to justify playing a bad card?
Exactly.
Or a mediocre
like,
card.
Any card that forces you to play other bad cards is probably in and of itself a
And
bad
this is
card.
probably why I haven't made going to play Modern a priority in the last couple of weeks. Because and you and I have talked about this.
Yep.
I want to do sweet things.
Yeah.
And not lose immediately.
But here's the thing.
I don't have to win, but I don't want to feel like
because I'm with you. Yeah. But do sweet things like Glorio's Vengeancing a Gristlebrand.
Why? You can draw 7 and lose 7 life?
That's kind of cool.
Not threatening.
But I mean, he can play. I mean, Threaten, I feel like, is a card that you see a lot of in EDH.
Oh, he's dope in EDH.
So, I mean, in EDH,
this guy's absolutely fucking dope.
Sweet thing to do.
Right, and a lot of times
as a modern playable thing.
Right, and if you think about it that way, a lot of the cards that we say offhandedly, oh, this is going to be an EDH All-Star, are the cards that are 7 mana.
Yes.
Yep.
But to look at this and say, this is 3 in EDH, but I could play this for 3 and for 3 mana.
And I also really love cards in EDH that say each opponent.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's only
Each
a drain
opponent
effect, but like...
Each opponent.
It hits each opponent. It's not 1. It's just more powerful because it hits everyone. 2, you don't make bad guys the same way. It's if it just said one opponent and be like,
enemies.
I'm gonna hit Brad, and Brad's like, fucking why are you hitting me, bro?
All right. Well, I know who I'm swinging at next.
Like,
Exactly.
Oh, I've had enough of that in my EDH lately.
I
Yeah.
didn't play more EDH.
I
have not played EDH in a
To be
while.
fair, I got salty the other night when somebody played an Oppo agent. I missed my third land drop.
should be banned.
Came around again, was gonna miss my third land drop. I'm like, guess I'm gonna Grim Tutor, Oppo agent. Okay.
Was that the game that we played at the shop with Jacob? Okay.
No, but and it was funny. I was like steaming coming out of my ears, like,
Because all you're going to do is go try to find a
I'm
land.
trying to get a land.
Yeah.
I just want to be able to play the game.
Yep.
That's a feel bad moment.
He
though,
played
right?
that Oppo agent 3 times that game.
Wow.
Got bounced to his hand by another player that wanted to search for something. Got killed, and he brought it back from his graveyard with the enchantment where you can pay 2 life and a black to put it back in your hand.
Yep.
He ended up winning the game by looping Gary's that way.
I mean, you got to know for every player like you out there, Brad, that just wants to play, there's at least 5 that want to make the game miserable for you and make you not be able to play the game of Magic.
I do own a deck that Brad does not allow me to play at this house.
Jeez, I bet I could almost guess what it was. Is it the green black wolf thing?
No.
No.
Okay.
Nope. I don't
No,
mind
that
that.
one's reasonable.
That one I hated.
No, so I have a deck. It's Maelstrom Wanderer,
Oh, okay.
but it doesn't take extra turns. It doesn't actually do anything relevant, except it makes every play that every player does random.
Yes, I've played against that. Yes. Yeah, I hate
Every
that.
time you play a card, it'll be something else, and someone else will probably get control of it.
I'm pretty sure between you, Cooley, and Leaf, if I see a Maelstrom Wanderer across the table for me,
It's funny. Their decks are good.
they are dead.
Their decks are very good. Mine just tries to make everyone quit the game.
It's still dead
good
to
one.
me.
I love it.
Yep.
I definitely get triggered. Not gonna lie.
That is the only deck that is not allowed to be played here. that
We're
I know
doing
of.
good.
Okay.
But this was awesome, you guys.
This was amazing.
I'm glad you finally made it over here, Andy.
Hey, I fell asleep, and I had to wait for the drool to dry off my shirt.
Yep. We covered it up with a microphone. In case
Yeah,
in
you
case
can
you
see
were
it.
wondering why the fuck does Andy have a microphone taped over his, like, he thinks it's blending in with that gray shirt? No.
You told me it blended in well.
Yeah, we were just saying that.
You told me it was good.
We saying that because it covered up the drool.
Oh,
all right?
no.
That's what we were saying, okay? We did you a solid. Guys, thanks so much for joining us. It was such a pleasure. Thank you guys for
Thanks.
inviting us.
Yeah,
back.
thanks for having us
Thank
back.
you guys for coming
100.
over.
This was really awesome. We hope you guys enjoyed this, and we'll see you very soon. Happy 100 episodes. Thanks so much for being here with us. Bye.
So fuck Cooley. And Zach, why don't you take us out?
You can, as always, you can find me on Twitter at Mo_town111 or on Moto with Motown123. Brad, where can they find you?
At the SnapCast Pod on Twitter.
And I guess just for the shout out, Cooley, where can people find your content if they wish to find D2?
3 O's.
Yeah, just put 3 O's. Cooley with 3 O's, bros.
Awesome. And Andy, do you
Cooley
have...
with 2 O's was taken by someone that was not nearly as popular. Okay.
Okay.
Wasted name.
Andy, do you have anything?
I mean, if you just want to, just give me a call. Here's my phone number. I don't really.
I live on 13 Main Street. Come on down and visit.
Oh shit! No, I mean I don't really have too many ways to find me. Tech4 on YouTube, Tech4 on Moto. That's about it. Twitch, same thing.
I'm gonna have a lot of fun editing this.
Yeah.
I say you cut it right after the buy.
I don't
Like,
have it.
That was perfect. I don't know why all this stuff
Just
exists.
put that shit in the comments. Be like, that's where we're at.
Or what you have to do is just put like a black screen for like 2 seconds,
And then come back in.
and then just like bye black. Anyway,
And then-
fuck Cooley.
That's actually not a bad idea.
Now I'm gonna take that and put it right at the beginning.
Yes.
Anyway, fuck Cooley.
Nailed it.
Welcome to the SnapCast Pod.
Nailed it.
And he just picks up the sheet.